Hello, friends. Welcome to the Thinning of the Veil podcast. I'm your host, Tia Smith. And did we not have a treat yesterday? We had Elder Brent L. Top come on and teach us some of the things that he has learned within his years and years of studying this topic of the other side of the veil, death, spirit to spirit communication, and most especially focused yesterday on was spirit to spirit communication. I loved his testimony that these things do exist, that they are part of the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that as we study it more and understand it more, we can increase our opportunities of having these revelatory experiences. I've included today a story that has several instances and different kinds of revelatory experiences within the context of the gathering. Now, Brent and I did not talk beforehand on what he was going to mention or say, and he did mention Wendy Nelson and her ability to receive revelation, especially as she is doing family history work. And unbeknownst to him, I had already planned to tell of her experiences that she wrote in an LDS Living magazine article back in November 2019. And she is one of those people who says that she started out not understanding how to receive revelation or to even want to do family history, and then testifies that once she decided to do family history, the heavens truly opened for her in many ways. As we continue to study these subjects, most especially this one, this is one of the mainstays of the channel, as we've had people testify of the reality of thinning of the veil experiences, spirit to spirit communication. The more we study it, the more we can put ourselves in places to receive it. So on Friday, one of the talks that I'm going to include is a talk about revelation from Elder Bruce R. McConkie, and he will testify that information, visions, and all of the revelatory experiences that our forefathers had are contained in the universe at all times. We just don't have eyes to see, or we don't know yet, understand the wavelength that the Spirit communicates on. Therefore, it is oblivious to us. And as we seek to understand these things more, and that's why I've included the talk on Friday, and we'll do another episode because I felt like I wanted to go into a deeper dive on this subject on Tuesday with a lot of doctrinal sources, in hopes that it will help you to have belief in the knowledge that the Savior is aware of all of his children on both sides of the veil, and that the promises and the spiritual gifts that come to those saviors with a little s are beyond our comprehension. But we must understand the context of the way that the Spirit communicates and testifies, and the reason why we would have revelatory experiences. So I'm going to read word for word an article that she wrote in, again, the LDS Living magazine, dated November 11th, 2019. Join us again tomorrow for the Gathering Academy, as Colette gives us so much awesome information, because it is part of the doing of this work. We actually have to go into Family Search and understand it and learn how to find people, learn how to reunite people, and then go to the temple. So join us Thursday. And again, like, subscribe, share this with your family and friends if you're enjoying it. And I love the support that I'm receiving, and it is helping me to keep going, because this is busy all the time. All right, so we're going to, again, hear from Wendy Nelson. She writes, "When you hear the words family history, do you go into a coma? Believe me, until a few years ago, I could have matched my coma with yours any day. It used to be that if I wanted to have a really good sleep, all I needed to do was to think about doing family history work. Just the prospect of doing it was better than ether. But now for me, there is not a faster way to have the heavens open than to pray to be led to those who live on the other side of the veil, who have accepted the gospel of Jesus Christ and are eager to make covenants with God and receive their essential ordinances. After years, even decades, of carting boxes of family history materials to one apartment or condo after another, in December 2012, I was finally ready to take the plunge into family history research in an entirely different way. The impetus for me was a message by Elder Richard G. Scott in his October 2012 General Conference address, The Joy of Redeeming the Dead. When Elder Scott spoke, it felt as though he was speaking directly to me and allowing 15 million others to listen in. At the end of his talk, when he said, "What about you? Have you prayed about your own ancestors' work?" I heard it as, "What about you, Wendy? Have you prayed about your ancestors' work?" No, I hadn't, and I hadn't even thought about doing so. The thing I had done the very most about my ancestors was to feel guilty. I had done a lot of that. But on this December morning in 2012, I was ready to do more than feel guilty. I was ready to do more than attempt to, quote, organize the family history records my grandmother had bequeathed to me. I was ready to have the heavens open to me to help find my ancestors. As my husband and I read the Book of Mormon that morning, I noticed several mentions of the word durst. Durst, the word stirred something in me. That word is used 18 times in the Book of Alma. At the time, it seemed far more than 18 times. It felt like Durst was every other word. And every time my husband and I would read the word Durst, I had the same unusual feeling. A few days later, I happened to open an old notebook of my grandmother's containing genealogical information in her own handwriting. The first name I saw was that of Catherine Durst. I wasn't sure what to do with that name, but I was ready to find out. To say I was a beginner would be an understatement. The first time I opened the Family Search website and, with a friend on the other end of the phone coaching me, tried to learn how to use it, it was a disaster. At one point, I said, "At this moment, my computer screen doesn't look anything like you are describing." I thanked her, hung up, and fell to my knees and pled, "I don't know how to do any of this. If this is important, please help me." That prayer was the first small step in opening the heavens for me with regards to Family Search. Little by little, as I began to understand some of the basics of the Family Search website, I also began to experience what Elder Scott taught when he said that family history is a monumental effort of cooperation on both sides of the veil, where help is given in both directions. Over and over again during the first few years, I was amazed to just, quote, happen to meet a person who could help me learn more about how to research names more productively. And I never took it for granted when, seemingly out of the blue, I find a piece of information I need. There is no doubt in my mind that angels from both sides of the veil are assigned to help us with this work, and that we rarely, if ever, alone in our efforts to find family names and prepare them for sacred temple ordinances. So what do we need so we can do our part in family history work? What is it that we don't understand? The first step is to ask, ask, ask. Pray, pray, pray. And then follow each and every prompting. I have learned that my family history research goes better when I kneel and begin with prayer. Many involved in family history research have come to believe, as I do, that our ancestors know where their own records are and that they will help us find those records. Let me share just two such experiences as I recorded them. March 20th, 2016, day of Provo City Center Temple dedication. Record of William Townley on top of pile of papers on my desk by computer. I had not put it there. Quote, opened to person on Family Search, and it opened right to him. I had not been working there. I looked to see why William Townley was so eager for me to find him. Answer: several of his children, 3 actually, had been overlooked. They needed their ordinances completed. A few days later, still in March 2016, I recorded the following regarding a different man whose first name was also William. William Henry Thompson. There were 4 choices for a wife that fit with his name and the time he lived and even the location where he lived. I was confused and said out loud, "You're going to have to help me." Suddenly, the computer screen showed his marriage record. It was not there before. I had scrolled through all the offerings that Ancestry.com had given, several pages, and I had never been able to find his marriage record. And now, here it was. Those who have never felt the opening of heaven that doing family history research can bring may doubt, even scoff at, these experiences. I can only attest that these kinds of discoveries happen again and again. Because of one experience after another, I have come to believe that making a sacrifice of time to the Lord by doing family history research can open the heavens for you. Here is another family history research note I made. April 1st, 2019. In 6 years of doing family history research, I found one person born in Italy, a man who married a young woman from the United States of America. Now, since the Rome, Italy temple dedication, March 2019, I can't work fast enough or long enough to keep up with the records I am finding for those born in Italy. I have found many, at least 100 in just a few days, and I don't know how I even got on that limb of our family tree. I can feel that they are excited. They had been sitting there, just waiting, more like longing, for someone to find their information and do their ordinance work. There is always an urgency associated with this work. That is what I feel when I am spiritually in tune with heaven. It is exactly as Elder Scott said, this is a spiritual work. However, since the dedication of the temple in Rome, something new has been added to that feeling of urgency. I would almost call it a clamoring. This is a new experience for me. Perhaps it is many expressive, energetic Italians rejoicing on the other side of the veil. As one ordinance worker said to me in the temple at the completion of an ordinance, "Oh, there is going to be dancing in heaven tonight." So, if you are wondering if your prayers are heard, if you are longing for the heavens to open for you, may I suggest that you commence your family history research efforts with a prayer to be led to those who are ready to make covenants and receive their ordinances. And then, in an exercise of faith, expect for spiritual adventures to follow. It is my experience that family history research will make any extreme sport or high adventure activity pale in comparison. Family history research, which involves working with the heavens, lifts me, strengthens me, puts other things in my life into perspective for me, increases my ability to be guided by the Spirit, and brings me personal revelation and such joy. And all of those things help me to be a better wife and help our home to be a place of refuge, rejuvenation, and revelation. Here's one more notation from my family history research journal. It demonstrates just how eager our ancestors are for their work to be completed. I just found this man. It's his birthday today, September 29th. But what is more exciting and points out just how invested he was in my finding him is that it was exactly 110 years ago today that he was born. So literally today is the first day that he qualifies for proxy baptism. Oh, yes, indeed, our ancestors want their work done. Prayer and family history research open the heavens for me. In fact, I have learned to keep a pad of paper beside me as I'm working on family history to record ideas that flow into my mind and heart to help me in other areas of my life. I testify that the same blessing can come to you as you work to find your ancestors. The heavens will open. I love this article. It's one of my most favorite articles about family history research because she is plain in her testifying. She testifies of several thinning of the veil experiences. She also testifies that as we receive revelation on behalf and do the work for those on the other side of the veil, we also receive it in our own lives individually for our families and for ourselves on this side of the veil. Those of you who have been involved in family history research will know and testify that what she says is true. And if you do not yet have this testimony, I invite you, as Sister Nelson invited us, to pray, to understand who needs help on the other side of the veil, and pay attention, be intentional with keeping track, whether it's putting it in your phone or writing it down. And again, it can come in the middle of the night. It can come anytime, any day. But it will not come unless you're asking. If we want to understand spirit-to-spirit communication, we have to be involved in the gathering of Israel, for it is in that work that we have the most opportunities for that spirit-to-spirit communication to happen. Thanks for joining me, friends. I hope you're enjoying this week of learning how to really work on our revelation skills and our understanding of what's ahead of us and what can be in real time happening in our own lives on a day-to-day basis. Have a great week. I will see you tomorrow with the Gathering Academy with Colette, and then Friday, another talk to help us to understand this more. Have a great week. We'll see ya. Bye.